This episode of the Towing Life podcast is brought to you by BA Products. From innovative products such as the Container Link, Tanker Tube, Frame Hook, patented 8-point tie-down, and more, BA Products is always developing products to better assist towers today and for tomorrow. Reach out to one of our BA distributors today to see how we can help elevate your towing and recovery procedures. All right, just so I have a reference to look at because I'll forget.
Oh, we always know you forget.
It's not that I forget, it's that I don't listen. There's a difference, okay?
You don't listen, you forget what we talked about because you don't listen, and it's all the same baloney.
What are you saying? Sorry, I got distracted. Story of my life. Imagine what my poor wife goes through. Because this isn't something that I just bring to the show. This happens organically at home.
Oh, I've met your wonderful wife, and I know she's at the wit's end with you sometimes.
Sometimes?
Most of the time. I was trying to be, a little silly.
Most of the time. My dad has that same shirt.
Yeah.
Welcome
to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by PlainGuy and our wonderful producer. I'm going to do that again.
Let's take that one from the top.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life podcast.
And
welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my host, PlainGuy, and producer, Sarah.
That's it. That's all we get.
That's all you got.
My God, we've been doing this for over a year, and that is all we get. That is an absolute sad state of things, Sarah. I'm sorry. I will give you a
not even a lead up.
Not even a lead up. I will give Sarah and myself a proper introduction. I am the man with very strong opinions, as well as our wonderful and amazing producer, Sarah G. That is what the energy I expect you to bring.
That's not what's written in the script.
We all know you can't go off script, so that's our fault. Yes. Sarah, you have access to the same information we do. You need to update this script. You need to add more. What's the word, Sarah? You're a writer. What's the thing to describe things? It's like an adjective. There we go. We need more adjectives added into the script. And this is why we do a podcast, and Sarah is an author. So what is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's been a busy week, let's say. It's been a busy day, too. We've been having quite a few ups and downs, and we wanted to sit down and record about 2 hours ago, but something came up.
Duty calls. Yeah, duty calls. It is, as everyone knows, the towing life requires you to sometimes leave events, get-togethers, or in this case, podcast recordings at inopportune times. And that is exactly what happened today as we sat down to record. I got called out to a police call that I had to attend. There wasn't an option on it. It happens. If you're not used to that in towing yet, well, you haven't been doing it long enough. That's what I'm going to say. Because, our job is tough enough, and then throw in all the crazy times that you got to leave. And, how many times have been during dinner? Rate is, either right when you start cooking, which is the worst, or right as it's ready, it's on your plate. At least then you got 5 minutes. You can wolf some food into your mouth and head out. Family get-togethers, birthdays, all that kind of stuff. We know the industry. We tend to miss a lot of those events because of it. Luckily for me, unfortunate for you guys, it was only pushing back a podcast recording, not a family birthday or something that you'd really be upset about. I'm still upset.
I think the worst is when you get into the shower and you're just getting everything done. You hear that device go off to let you know that you got a call, and it will not shut up until you get out and dismiss it.
Yep.
So now you either got to shower with the beep, 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 beep going off constantly, or you got to get out, soaking wet, press the button, and then try to get back into your shower. Just say, screw it, I'll shower later.
I used to be so sure that my dispatcher actually had a hidden camera in my bedroom because I would swear it would be when you were on call at nights, I'm going to go to bed a little later because there's nothing worse than getting into bed and getting called out, right? It's you just throw the blanket on, you're comfy. Yeah, I'm going to go to sleep. And then the phone rings.
It never.
And and I remember it would be nothing going on. And it might get up to about 1 a.m. Okay, I'm going to bed. I crawl into bed next to my wife. I throw over the blanket, get comfy, and the phone would ring. And you go like, are you watching me? Like, do you wait for that exact moment before you dispatch the call? Like, it's everyone listening should be able to relate. If you do any sort of on call, at least you should be able to relate to that feeling. It is. You want to get busy in towing, make plans, or crawl into bed, or like I said, take a shower, do something. I could sit around all day at my computer doing a little da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to go make lunch. Ding, ding, ding. Phone rings. Off you go. You know, it's the way of the towing gods. I don't know what god we got to pray to and what shrine we got to build to stop that from happening. But if anyone is aware, please let me know.
Yes. So
that we can get that done. That being said, before we get into it, if you want to let me know where to build my shrine or which shrine to build, you can always reach out to us by visiting us at www.towinglife.ca. You can also find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast, or you can email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Your questions, concerns, comments, anything that you guys... I love the emails of guys telling me how much of an idiot G is. He doesn't see those emails. I normally keep them to myself to not hurt his feelings. Which I guess cat's out of the bag. But keep on sending them. I'm building a file until we can eventually fire him.
Just do a whole episode of how did I screw up this time?
TowManG complaints. And we'll pull them all up. And I've got one episode.
Like I could do a 3-hour-long episode, you know.
Yeah. I could do a whole week's worth of episodes. Why would we just limit it to one? And then all the compliments we get for wonderful producer Sarah could make its own, you know, we could do a good and the bad like we used to when we started. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. The good, Sarah's the good, you're the bad. Oh, wait, that leaves me as the ugly.
With at least one left.
Well, I mean, if I've got to take a title, I'll take a title.
So, how are you actually, producer Sarah? He never did ask you how you're doing.
Oh, I'm all right. No exciting towing news here.
No.
Well, that's not what the listener wants to hear.
Oh, what does the listener want to hear? So
I know
my
what the listener wants to hear.
husband is a second-degree judo black belt, and yesterday we drove down to Atlanta so he could enter a tournament, and he won 2 gold medals. So
nice.
Wow.
Our big news. Yeah, he's a pretty good fighter.
And this is why I put so many adjectives in front of producer Sarah, because her husband scares the crap out of me.
They live like 24 hours away driving. It's all right.
Yeah, it would take us a long time to get there.
I'd have a good head. I'd get a good head start. Yeah. I could be gone and out of here well before there's a problem. So that being said, G, one of the things that we got on board today that we wanted to talk about is more something you were bringing to the table. I don't really know what it is, but the lesser. That's perfect. I like off the cuff stuff. The lesser of two evils. Mm-hmm. What? I kind of understand the concept. I think we've touched on this before, where what do you do here? You know what I mean? Like when cost outweighs risk kind of thing, or profit outweighs risks. But what do you got in mind?
So I had a really, I don't want to say bad day. The other, I think it was last week now. I got a call, and it was a call to take me home. So as some of you may know, I work away from where I live, so I can't do on-call stuff. So occasionally I'll get calls going that way so I can just take the truck home and come back in the morning. This is one of these times. And 9 times out of 10, these calls are a little weird. So I go out to where I'm supposed to pick up this call.
Wait, the calls going to your hometown are weird? That about sounds right.
Well, it wasn't going to my hometown, but it was anyways. So I get to where the car is supposed to be, and I call the guy, and I was like, hey, where are you? He's like, oh, I'm just down the road. It's like, okay. So I drive all the way from the road I turned off of to the highway. I call him again. I was like, I don't know what road you think you're on, but you're not on the road that you think you're on. So then I do some deducing, and he's actually 2 towns down in a different area. It was actually the area that you and I worked in together. So
okay.
I called the roadside dispatcher and I was like, if you're okay with it, I can carry on and go pick him up. I know exactly where he is. Or you can let whoever's area it is pick him up because that's their area. Oh,
Right.
no, that company isn't doing any calls outside of their right immediate hometown. I was like, that's a little weird. But I was like, okay. And when I turned onto the road that he's actually on, I saw the company's truck that we used to work for. It was Dave. Good old
Hey,
Dave sitting on the side
good
of
old
the road.
Dave.
I pulled over and I talked to him. I was like, apparently you guys aren't doing anything outside of your own area. He was like, no, that's not true. So I get to this car and it's a Volkswagen and it's lowered like an inch off the ground. And what happened was he was going down this real bumpy road. You probably know it, Road 13.
Yep.
And he took out the oil pan out of this Volkswagen.
Surprise.
Yeah. So I spin around and I back up to it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to fit underneath this thing. So let's start jacking up your car. And I was like, maybe I should pick it up from the rear and dolly the front. And
I mean, the oil pan's already gone.
The oil pan's already gone. So I jack up both sides and set it down on the block of wood on the one side. And I scoop it as tight as I can. I pick it up. Then I double pick it again. So where my Vulcan scoops, where the holes actually end, I'm still like 3 inches past where the holes end.
Right. Because you have the spoon so tight into the receiver that, yeah.
So it's so tight where my rollover pins, that's what the tire's sitting on. The tire's not even sitting on the wheel grid anymore. Like it is up there, like as tight as I could ever go. And I'm still sitting on the guy's oil pan. So then he's like, well, I don't really want you to smash it all to hell. I was like, neither do I. He was like, well, do you want to let me take the lowering springs out of the car? He's got the little tool to raise up the suspension. I was like, honestly, this is better off on a flatbed. I always hate to say send a flatbed, but like,
boo.
No, like I'm saying, like I ended up towing it. Let me finish the story. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll set it back down on these jacks. If you got the tools, it's going to take you 10 minutes per side. That's still a lot faster for you. I got to call you at the roadside back anyways to update where I'm actually picking you up so I can get paid proper kilometers. So I set the car back down onto these jacks. I hop in the truck. I call them up. And 5 minutes goes by after I get the address changed. And he comes walking back up to my window while I'm still on the phone to the roadside. And he was like, I don't give a fuck. I just want you to tow it. I can't find my adapter, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, man. And the dispatcher on the phone heard me. She was like, well, that's a damage waiver. It's like, perfect. So we had a verbal.
That's better than any piece of paper.
Yeah. Verbal damage waiver over a recorded line. So I pick it up, still as tight as I can, put my safety chains on. I was like, I'm real close on your exhaust pipe on the back. So I start looking at the back to think about throwing dollies down, and the exhaust is ran underneath the axle. So I can't get my dolly bars underneath of it. Even if I jack it up, it's going to be sitting on the exhaust and not on the actual tire. So now I'm like, well, I physically can't tow it without dragging the exhaust because I've got it double picked so tight. I can't run my knuckle down any further. And he was like, I don't care, man. I just want to get home. I was like, I'll give you one more opportunity. It's either I tow you and I'm going to royally bugger up your oil pan and scrape your exhaust a little bit. And I'm going to go slow. I'm going to avoid as many bumps as I can, but I can't make any promises. Or we can wait for a flatbed. He was like, no, I'm good. I was like, all right. So it was a very slow drive for the 76 kilometers he wanted to go, dodging as many potholes as I can. And I was doing 20 under. And that road took me about 8 minutes to get off that road because I was doing about 40, dodging as many potholes as I can. And when I got to the drop-off point, I dropped it down, and there's just chunks of oil pan sitting on my wheel lift. So I absolutely mangled that oil pan. The exhaust was still on, thankfully. But, yeah, it was... it's not something I wanted to do because I knew I was going to cause damages. But in that position, I feel for him. He just wants to get home. It's been a couple of hours because we couldn't find him to begin with. Yep. And then the whole runaround of him not telling the dispatcher that it's a lowered car and they didn't send the right truck out in the first place. And that's what I really mean of lesser of two evils. When there's going to be damages done, I picked drag the exhaust pipe and destroy the already destroyed oil pan, to where if I spun around and picked it up from the rear, then I'm running the risk of damaging the exhaust, which isn't damaged at all, and dollying the front. Now, I've got the damage waiver, so does it really matter? I mean, that exhaust tip's going to drag anyways for him. Like, he took out the oil pan just driving. So,
Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, our job is to not cause secondary damage.
yeah.
Right? That is an ideal situation, is that, we can do whatever we can do. Now, that being said, there's a limit to what we can do. Right? Like I said, if the exhaust was ran, this guy didn't give the proper information to the dispatcher that the vehicle was lowered. You already knew it's a Volkswagen. We both know that you can tow a Volkswagen, a standard Volkswagen, even a little bit lowered, safely on a wrecker without damage. It can happen. In a case like that, I think you're right. Like the oil pan itself, once it's cracked, and I'm assuming most of them are aluminum anyways.
Yeah.
The chance of the guy, I don't know what it was, if it was a hairline crack or was it actually a chunk missing out of it, but the chances of him getting that just taken off, rewelded, repaired to begin with is slim.
Yeah.
Most guys won't do that at that point. They're replacing the pan. So what is the damage that you're going to really do?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you start punching through the pan and hitting, anything that's underneath that, you can run into more issues. Also, the more you hit it, the more shavings you're sending up into the engine, or at least that are sitting in there. But he's going to have to do a drop and a clean anyways on it. Like if you're going to do damage, you might as well continue to damage the thing that's already broken.
Yep.
Right now, at least the guy's only got to do an oil pan, not an oil pan and an exhaust.
Yep.
The fact is that you did all this for a roadside still goes to my belief that exotic, upgraded, modified cars and these kind of things shouldn't even be covered by roadsides. And if they should, companies have to start fighting for a proper rate on them, because hooking up a 93 Buick LeSabre, I won't go with my Honda Civic, I get in trouble for always picking on the people with Civics, a 93 Buick LeSabre, or hooking up a 2012 Volkswagen lowered right to the ground to the point that the guy took his oil pan out on a traveled road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no way that those rates should be the same. There is completely different processes that have to go into loading both of these cars. There's more steps that need to be taken. It goes a lot towards our risk versus profit, risk versus reward. Is it worth it? You know what I mean? If with the risk of damage being high, like you said, you had a waiver on a recorded line where the roadside heard. That being said, do not be surprised if that roadside would throw you completely under the bus. Yeah. If that person actually made a complaint, for them to actually go back and find that recording would be, yes, they're recording.
I told my manager about it the next day with the call number, and I've got that all written down in the office. So if it ever does come back, at least I've done everything I can on my end. Right?
Yeah, no, you did everything that you can. It is right. It's one of those things. The lesser of two evils in that case is continue to beat the snot out of his oil pan.
Now, the only thing I wish I actually had in that instance was a pan pillow. I've never had a pan pillow before. And what a pan pillow is, it's a little inflatable airbag that clips onto your wheel lift, and you pump it full of air. So people use pool noodles as well. So it acts as a bit of a cushion. And since I had it picked so tight, if I tilted down a little bit, I'd probably be able to shove it in there and then tilt back up and make sure that it's at least riding on a cushion of air. But at the same time, that's another piece of equipment that I'm doing for a base rate roadside service. And is it really worth it? Like, should we really break out this type of equipment for roadside calls?
If it was that tight already, because let's be honest, if the car was that lowered, the suspension was stiff as all
It was still very bouncy, actually. I was very
surprised. Yeah, because normally when they're down like that,
the control arms, the lower control arms are going up like this. Like it was steep, and there was still a lot of bounce in it to where it bottoms out on the fender. And the guy bought the car a week or 2 weeks before this instance happened, and he was planning on taking the lowering kit out of it because it's a commuter car.
Yeah. It's a Frankenstein.
It's not a very good commuter car if the roads you're traveling breaks it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that road is pretty aggressive, but that being said, you can't be having that kind of problem. But no, you might not even been able to fit a pan pillow in there if it's as tight as you need. They do need a little bit of space. Now, I honestly ran pan pillows multiple times. But I think you're supposed to run 6-7 PSI in them. It's not very high. We just put like 2 or 3. Even that, all it is two rubber pieces at least that we're keeping a rubber buffer at least between. You can almost use a mud flap to do, not running any air.
Pool noodles.
Yeah, pool noodles. It's, I don't know. I feel even that it's get the tool for the job, right?
Yeah.
There is a tool for the job. There always is.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I think you did the right thing. Like I said, hopefully he doesn't complain. If he does, hopefully the roadside doesn't throw you under the bus completely. Because but bad information, right? We talk about bad information, and I had an instance. I forgot to throw it up in the note, but you made me think about it. I get a call the other night. I was dispatching. I get a call from a trucking company advising us that they need a tow right away. I go, okay, what's the problem? We have a truck that is broken down on the left shoulder of a 400 highway. Right about this exit. I go, okay. As I'm taking their information, and we have an account with them and everything, so it's not a let's sort out payment, it's let's get a truck rolling. As I'm taking their information, I've already texted my heavy operator to get him going.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, there's another truck on scene to take the trailers. You're just taking the truck. And I'm like, man, we're not going to do a swap on the left shoulder of a 400 highway.
No.
And going on and going on and going on. And how long until you can have a truck there? 25, 30 minutes. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I get a call back 5 minutes later. How long until you're there? My driver's starting to get worried. Well, if your driver's concerned, as I told him on the first call the police.
Yep.
Have them come out and do traffic because, obviously he's in an unsafe place. This is just,
Yep.
My truck is coming. 5 minutes later, how far away is your truck? He's going to be there soon. He's rolling out of the yard as we speak. Okay. Driver gets going, and we have GPS, so I'm watching the driver, and he goes up the highway right past where this guy was and keeps going. He calls me, and he says, this guy's not on the 400 highway. Like, I've gone from here to here. I have not found him.
Mm-hmm.
So I call the driver, and as soon as I ask him, where are you? He goes, well, I'm on this avenue turning into the truck stop. I'm in the left lane turning into the truck stop. He's on a road. He's not on a highway. He's not on a 400 series highway. He's on a road off of it in the left lane to turn into a truck stop, a fueling station, and he died in the left lane. I don't know how this got miscommunicated through 3 different people on their end, but they are almost screaming at me to hurry up and get a truck out there because he's broken down in the left lane of the highway.
Yeah.
And it's like, my God, guys, the information, it is not, I know people panic, and, dispatch in this case, I believe for the trucking company isn't the usual dispatcher. Because I tried to get a PO. Well, I don't have a PO. Well, you need a PO. It's kind of part of your system.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were panicking left shoulder, and then my driver, I was like, man, now I feel bad because I've been rushing my driver, right? Hurry up, because this is a dangerous situation. Mm-hmm. Just find out the guy's just sitting there blocking a turning lane.
But you also find that too. Like I know with lockouts, especially, they'll say that there's an animal or a child locked in a vehicle, and you get there and there's no animal or child. They just want faster service, so they'll say that it's a lot worse than what it is sometimes. Or in your case, they just have absolutely no idea, and it's been broken telephone through 3 different people. And
mine wasn't malicious
on scene. That's the person you always want to call.
Yeah, mine wasn't malicious in any way. They didn't intentionally try and get faster service, any of that. It was just they had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So that being said, wonderful producer Sarah. That should be your new. We're not even going to put producer Sarah. We're going to put wonderful producer Sarah. As your official title. You have
points or something.
I'm just trying to stay on her good side. Have you met her double black belt jiu-jitsu husband?
I don't want.
I'm going to keep calling her wonderful producer Sarah.
You like that?
So we do have a moral dilemma. I don't have the video queued up today, unfortunately. But we do have a bit of a moral dilemma that you have set for us, of what I understand.
Yeah,
I do have it. Of it is TowManG and PlainGuy. Sorry, I got that in real quick. So what do you got for us?
This dilemma doesn't affect you guys so much, but I can imagine somebody out there is having this issue. So I want to ask you guys what you would do.
Okay.
All right. So money is tight, and your boss has put a freeze on the budget. Your dolly wheels and toe straps really need replacing, but he says, make it work. What do you do?
Ooh.
How bad is it? Like, if I get pulled over, am I getting yanked off the road bad?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be visible. Like, you'd have to have already been pulled over and have a police officer like looking and being like, dude, you can't be driving with this. But you can make it work. That's the key, is that you could make it work. You just know you're going into unsafe territory.
That is a really big moral dilemma.
You want my professional answer or the real world answer?
A little bit of both.
As everyone knows, I'll start with the professional answer. As everybody knows, anything that could take your truck out of service and is unsafe needs to be addressed and needs to be dealt with. And if you feel that there is a piece of equipment that could possibly cause a major failure that could either get you ticketed or, worst case scenario, hurt or kill somebody, you need to be the first guy to stop and say, I'm not going to do that.
Park that truck.
Yeah. Park the truck, or the equipment at least. Yeah. The reality is, and we know that, we've all been in that situation where we have done something that we shouldn't, with equipment that we shouldn't. In the ideal world, you never would push that matter, but we have. I have ran a dolly tire that should have got replaced. I have ran a strap that had a nick in it. I have done all of those things. So to sit here and say, no, you should never is hypocritical. And at times I am a hypocrite. I have no problem admitting it. But this is the reality, is that, if you feel that you can get through and you are willing to take that risk. Now, remember, it is not only you taking that risk, it is the company. Minimize your risks. I've said it before. Minimize your risks. Now, is it going to happen? Sure. But in that situation, and the boss says, make it work. Okay, how long? Do I got to make it work for a day? I can get through the day. That's a little risk. Yeah. Are you going to make me do it for a month? Okay, well, now my chances are getting a lot higher that I'm going to get a ticket that is going to affect yourself and me. Yeah. It's managing and deciding how much of a risk at what time you're willing to take. This is not a perfect industry. No. We are not all saints. I don't care what you see on TV or what what these so-called tow gods are doing on social media. There is a reality to this industry that at times you do shit that you don't want on the internet. I'll leave it at that you don't want on the internet. And you don't willingly admit
taking pictures of because I don't want it out there.
And you don't willingly admit on a podcast the things that you have done. But no, depends on the situation. If it's can you get through the day with it? Sure. If it's obviously a budget freeze, sounds like it's not a day. And if your company is in that tight of a spot and you are that morally obliged of an operator where you take these things seriously, which you should, please give me a call. We're hiring. And we will make sure that you don't run into that problem. Because if you have the conscience about you to have a problem with it, you might be somebody that I would want to have on my team rather than a guy who would just go, oh, well, I'm out, I'm just not going to strap it.
And I think it also really depends. Like the company I work with, we've got more beds than we do have wreckers. I'm the only wrecker driver. So the amount of times I'm peeling my dollies off in a day is very limited. It's mostly reserved for police calls where we don't know the vehicle or calls where we didn't get all the information, right? We don't intentionally send a wrecker out to dolly things because it's added equipment that doesn't need to see that wear and tear, right? Just trying to prolong our equipment. But if you are running for a roadside where they just don't give a crap about who tows what, and you're running your dollies 5-6 times a day and doing long tows with them, I'd be a lot more concerned about that. To where if your dolly tire is getting a little worn down, but you might only dolly once a day or once every couple of days, where that one tire can last you a month if need be, and just keep an eye on it, rotate them every week, right? So it's not always the leading tire or the trailing tire, right? Try to even out that wear. Yeah, it's obviously you want to park the truck if you ever see a defect for whatever the case may be, or put a new tire on or fix that defect before you go out. But like PlainGuy was saying, the reality is sometimes you just got to make it work with what you got. And we see that with companies all over the place, and you can't bash the guy for doing the best he can with the equipment he's got, right? You can give a pointers and say, hey man, that's something that I could really see biting you in the butt coming up shortly, but don't say that he can't do the job with the equipment that he's got, because obviously he's doing it.
Yeah. That doesn't mean he's doing it right.
No.
But he's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is a really tricky one because, like I said, we've all pushed equipment past the point that we should. The professional in me says that you should never do that. But again, it is what it is. We on this show are not about giving you what the goddamn manual says, right? Yes, there are safe ways to do things. Yes, there is different ways to do things. And the reality is, like I said, if you haven't done some sketchy shit, it's kind of like the damage. If you haven't done it, you're either lying or you haven't been doing it long enough, because the reality is at one point or another, you will do something that you'll look back and just look back and learn from it and minimize the risk the best that you can. That's the best advice I can give to anybody. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's going to be risks. Try and minimize them. Make sure you're not going to put anybody in harm's way, including yourself, and move on to the next job and learn and grow from it.
But if you are looking for new equipment, you can always contact our sponsor.
Absolutely. If you are needing new straps and you are looking for the best straps out on the market, you can visit baprod.com, baprod.com. They have everything from innovative products such as the container link, tanker tube, frame hook, patented 8-point tie down, and the air bar, which I am seeing more and more of, which this seems like the greatest innovation to come to towing since the Vulcan wheel lift. I don't know. BA Products is always developing products to better assist towers today and for tomorrow. Their catalog is thick. It's actually online, so you don't even need the book anymore. You can head over to baprod.com, find the online catalog, find your nearest vendor, and pick up those new straps. You want quality. You want, you want good product. I'm not talking about cheap Chinese stuff off the boat. I am talking about quality tested products. If you want to be the best, run with the best. Take care of your equipment. It'll take care of you. Visit the fine folks over at BA Products and find what you need today. They will definitely set you up. I will take everything from page 1 to 25 and 2 of page 26.
And just one last thing about the dolly tire situation. I've run into an issue before where, okay, the company can't buy it right now. And I know the company well, and they'd come good for it. I bought it myself, right? They'll pay me back, especially if I'm close to the dealer that I can buy the new dolly tire or the new straps. Just stop and buy it yourself, depending on your financial situation. I'm not saying you got to put yourself out, but if you can, take care of your equipment. Show the initiative. Say, I bought this. Here's the receipt. Pay me back in a week, or put it on my next pay, or whatever the case may be, just to make sure that you're safe going down the road.
Well, it depends on the situation. If your company can't buy it because let's say, hey, Bob, the guy that does the ordering is gone and I need to, it's going to be a couple days. That's one thing. If the company goes, I got no money to buy a new dolly strap this week. That's
some mismanagement going on there on the back end of that company.
That's some red flags. I probably wouldn't be if it's that I don't have the money to buy it till next week, I probably wouldn't be buying it for them. If it is that they just can't get, nobody can get in, their shipping is going to take a couple days, blah, blah, whatever the excuse is. Yeah, I've done the same thing. I've gone out and purchased stuff and just get reimbursed depending on the situation.
Well, and I think you said it best, everybody's hiring. So if it's not working for you, move on.
If it's not working for you, move on. One important thing, if you are going to run, proper equipment, the other thing that is required is proper training. That brings us to a story that we're going to share today, which is, caution be had, whatever you want to call it, is a very sad story. A Kingman mom, Kingman, I'm guessing, is a town. I didn't see where this town was, sir. Do you know where Kingman is? You can find me where Kingman is in the meantime. Kingman mom raising awareness. Arizona. Kingman, Arizona mom raising awareness about proper towing technique after husband's death. The link will be in the description to the video if you want to go read the article yourself. A Kingman family is mourning after the father of 3 was killed in a freak accident after trying to help strangers stuck in the mud following a storm in the area. So, kind of makes me weird. So, the gentleman that died was helping people that was stuck, but I don't know why he was in the towed vehicle unless he was pulling it backwards. That's what happened, G. I've now figured this out. He was pulling it backwards with his truck. Mind you, that truck looks like it's stuck. Anyways, what happened was somebody had gotten stuck out in an area with some mud after a heavy rain, and there was a gentleman there that was willing to help pull them out. Right? How many times do we see that? I've seen it in the wintertime where a guy pulls up in his jacked up truck and he's trying to pull somebody out on a side road. right? And everybody goes, oh, you know, I got a buddy that can do it. Somebody can help me out. Yes, it is the cheaper option. Is it the safest? And is it, you know what I mean, really going to be the cheapest if things go south? No. But I understand even a lot of people's willingness to help. The fact that you're willing to help somebody at no charge goes, you know, says a lot about you. But there's a risk that comes along with this. And that is what happened in this case here. The gentleman was helping pull somebody out. It looks like the hitch or something, whatever he was pulling on with a soft strap, came off of a vehicle and became a rocket projectile through his windshield, striking the gentleman and killing him on the scene. Now, you know, we always talk about there's enough things on the road that can kill you. Take care of the things and you know what I mean? Eliminate the things that you can control. This was, you know, something that could have been controlled. And as sad as that is, and I wish, you know, I mourn with the family. I feel terrible for the freak accident. This is something that could have been avoided, right? But whenever you aren't exposed to that kind of thing and you don't deal with these kind of risks day in, day out, or proper training, this is the real world effect of what can happen. And unfortunately, it came to a cost of this man who was in his 30s with his kids and his wife in the car. Yeah. I think he was in his 30s. He wasn't much older than that. Ryan had previously called a friend to help get his truck out of the mud. My husband and him just thought that they were doing it right, but obviously it wasn't. Professional towing industry and recovery general manager Zaid Marzoka said, well, it might be easier and cheaper to rely on a friend when you're stuck. In the end, it's always better to call a professional. Recovery, there's a lot of training involved, a lot of equipment involved, Marzoka said. So you never recover with a tow ball hitch. It's weak. It's not made for recovery. It's made for towing. Yes and no disagree with that statement, but the gist of it is that, you know, training goes into this. And
there's a lot of different products out on the market. Like there is the kinetic ropes where they've got a lot of stretch to it. So if you're doing this type of recovery, you normally back up and you get a running start. Well, the shock load on both ends is very limited because the rope is doing most of the work, right? The rope is stretchy and the rope will expand and then contract. And that's normally what pulls the vehicle out. It's very good for getting vehicles out of the mud. If you have ever watched Matt's Off-Road Recovery over on YouTube, that's all they use. And they use pintle hinges as well, so it latches down and it's more secured. The other big thing about that is he normally puts his own worker in the driver's seat of that vehicle for insurance purposes. That's another way of keeping it within the company and doing it the professional and right way. The other thing that could be is they might not have been using the correct kinetic strap. It could have been just a standard recovery strap, which isn't designed for that shock load that you are now putting onto it. It could also be that trailer hitch pin. I've seen it multiple times where you go out and you buy a fairly cheap pin. Well, it doesn't have the shock load or the weight capacity for that recovery, right? It's made for a more static, like a static load. And especially now with the class 5 hitches out there, if you use a class 3 pin, well, you're definitely overloading that pin a lot. And doing these types of recoveries, you don't have safety chains or anything. It's that one strap. And you play outside of the rules and you don't know exactly what you're doing. Unfortunately, these are the consequences that can happen.
Ryan was just 43 when he died, but as Jennifer continues to raise awareness about how to safely tow vehicles, she believes his legacy lives on. We are going to post as well. I just found it through the article. There is a GoFundMe linked for the family. Like I said, he was 43 years old with 3 kids. I think it's 3 kids and a wife, 2 kids and a wife. It looks like possibly a third. I can't tell if one's his kid. It's terrible, right? And if we can raise awareness for it, it's a sad way to raise awareness, but so is every time there's a push for the slow down, move over, it's normally because somebody got hurt or killed. Every time there's a push for the changing of lights, it's because somebody got hurt or killed. Laws are written in blood. Right? Laws have always been written in blood. And this case here, if we can help raise awareness on, at the end of the day, yes. Would it have cost a couple $100 to get him out? Yes. Was the guy just trying to do the right thing? Yes. I don't hold it against anyone in that case. We've all wanted, the fact that he was willing to go out of his way to help someone is great. But whenever there's all these variables that come into play, like you said, and all these risks that are involved, sometimes it's better to leave it up to the trained professionals. So we will post that up. We will post up the GoFundMe. We will post up the article of the story. And you know, my condolences onto the family, and it's a terrible tragedy. And if it can help raise awareness for the next people, I'm all for it.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
all for it. So
But I think we got about 10 minutes left of this episode. So do you want to do some? I think you got some videos and some pictures to show.
I got some pictures. We're going to talk about doing things the right way and the wrong way. Right? I've always been a big believer. Whenever I train new operators, I explain to them that there is 100 right ways to do something and 1,000 wrong ways.
Yep.
As long as you are doing it one of the 100 right ways, I don't care. I'm good with it. This gentleman who got pulled over into some sort of inspection station, I grabbed the post on it, was clearly not doing things one of the 100 right ways.
No.
So for the audio listeners, it is a Ford Fusion on a wheel lift, which is fine. It's obviously the front wheel drive option. He's got wheel straps on it. There is something you can see under it. It almost looks like he's got those axle straps hooked onto the T-bar, which I don't fully understand. And then he has gone and hooked, which I really like his safety chain setup. Clearly, by how shiny those chains are, I don't think he uses them very often. He has
brand new, actually, compared to how beat up the hooks are.
Yeah, the hooks are beat up, but the chain itself looks brand new. Which has got a self-locking hook on it, which is great. But he hooked the safety chains to the little plastic fins in the front grille. Not even the grille, the bottom by the fog light grille.
Yeah.
He has hooked the hooks on. I mean, the officer, or it was like a enforcement agency that pulled him over that tweeted it. Says, seems legit. Hooking the safety chains to 2 small bumper plastic posts. Those metal hooks won't scratch the paint at all. JK, please secure vehicles or any other type of load appropriately before traveling. Oh, and please don't cut corners that can possibly put the motoring public at harm. Thanks, CVIS, A Centora, and Gixolia for discovering the violation and also providing the pictures.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this gentleman operator walked out with some sort of ticket.
Mm-hmm.
You don't walk away from that without a ticket, right?
No.
Well,
and if you do, buy a lottery ticket because you one lucky son of a bitch.
But what are you thinking? Like, Sarah, producer Sarah, you're not, you've been involved with tow trucks. You've seen them up close. You've played with them. You've won competitions or finished second, but the winner cheated. In competitions, what is your thoughts whenever you see this? As, we'll give you as a greenhorn. We would call you a greenhorn.
Well, just attaching something metal to something plastic just doesn't quite make sense to me. I mean, call me a beginner, but I think that the plastic's going to give.
Yeah, just the metal to plastic is a big red flag to a greenhorn.
Yeah. I can see it. Yeah, grab a tie rod, sure. Metal to metal, sure. Even somebody with limited experience, now you have more experience than most of the general public, but even somebody with limited experience in the industry goes, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So what was this like? How new was this operating?
Is it for appearances? Like, is it just to be like, oh, I put my safety chains there. Look, they're there.
That's probably what it is, to be honest with you.
So that if he drives by an officer. Yeah.
It's like you towing a pickup truck on your Vulcan wheel lift and the pickup truck's backwards and you putting your safety chains on the trailer hitch of the towed vehicle. They're there.
I've never done that.
You've never done that? Okay.
Never, ever.
Never, ever. All right.
Never, ever have I.
We all know people have done it. And is it going to do anything in case of an accident? You can say that if the vehicle comes off, it'll grab it. 9 times out of 10, you'd probably be ripping the trailer hitch right off or ripping out the little grabs on that. It's just there for looks, for a quick glance going down the road. That's the only thing that they're there for. And that's probably what went through the mind of this operator when he put them there.
But a trailer hitch would have a better chance than this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like a trailer hitch, you could make the argument.
Yeah.
Would it be a valid argument? Yeah.
The point of the
metal to metal isn't the only thing we need to take into account when hooking up safety chains, but yes, it is metal to metal. The hitch is rated and bolted. I mean, is it going to stop it? I don't know. I've never tested
to connect the vehicle to the wheel lift to the car. It's supposed to connect all 3 objects together. to where if the wheel lift breaks off your truck, you still got something holding from the truck to the casualty. That's the point of the safety.
Yeah, but in this case here with this type of wheel lift configuration, he does not have to have the safety chains hooked onto the wheel lift.
Right. He's got
this configuration. He does not need it. He could have just ran right to the A-arms and been completely. It didn't have to do any sort of weird wrap because it's got the straps over it. It is not a Vulcan. It is a Century. It looks like.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that doesn't apply. But yes, you cannot hook it to the plastic tabs in front of the radiator and expect not to get, a slap for pulling a no-no. Like that is a no-no.
It's like I was teaching a new guy the other day, and I was showing him how the legal way to wrap your Vulcan safety chains. And I told him, I was like, this is the legal way to wrap your chains. I will repeat it. This is the only legal way to wrap your safety chains. Is there other ways? Sure. But this is the only legal way to wrap your safety chains. It's like, whatever you do, this is the only legal way. So if you're going in town, just the one hook over, that's on you. I'm showing you the legal way.
Under, over, in.
Clear.
Under, over, in. I teach the same thing, and that's what I always remember. Under, over, in. Under, over, in. You tell it to them 8 times, then they go over on shit. Not this way. No, not that way. It's really simple. Yep. It's a really simple concept, but my God, does it mind blow people sometimes. Yep. And it's kind of like teaching the rookies the ratchet straps where they get their arms all crossed up and they can't figure out how to get it on the wheel. And it's good old times.
Moving is always my favorite, where they grab the actual handle and the tires are flipped out and they all flip over. And I was like, grab the actual cams and then you can move it around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always rookies are always fun. I'm gonna hope that this operator is new. Yeah. Judging by the pair on him to do this, I am guessing it is not a new operator. I am guessing it is an experienced operator that was being lazy because a lot of the new operators.
Look at the Stinger though. That's a pretty worn out Stinger. That hasn't seen grease in a while.
Right. It looks like it's coated. It's hard to tell from that photo. It doesn't look like just shiny steel. It looks like there's actually grease on there. Yeah, it's really hard to tell.
It looks like it's the left side of the wheel lift. It looks pretty shiny.
Yeah, that's true. I do see a lot of shine on it. So, yeah, it wasn't his first day using the wheel lift.
No.
That being said, and then we'll share this wonderful video from our that failed moment of the week. I have seen cars run away like this. I've never personally had one run away, but this guy's having I'm just gonna make sure the volume's down. This guy's having a bad day.
You can see him running back to the truck at what point? Why are you running at that point?
He's getting out of there.
I know. It's actually, I don't know what the plan is. So this, for the audio listeners, and you'll find this up, I will be sure to post this video up on the Facebook page shortly after the episode releases. But this gentleman was loading a car on a side road. I'm sure you've seen it. It's been everywhere the last couple of days. He's loading a vehicle onto a flatbed. I don't know if it doesn't look like the winch free spooled because it doesn't look like there's a winch attached. Something came unhooked. I don't know what the whole story is. The vehicle runs off of the flatbed, through a fence, and into a swimming pool.
Into the deep end, too, of the swimming
pool. Into the deep end of, I don't think it matters what end at that point. You're fired. You're fired. But yeah, he starts running towards the car, chasing it. Not that he's ever going to catch it. And then once it hits the pool, they turn around and start running away from it. And I mean, what are you running to go do? Hopefully call your boss, probably to get on the job board and see who else is hiring, because that is probably going to be your last day. I'm going to mute it and play it one more time just because
I feel bad if the owner of that vehicle is like, you know what, I'm just going to get my car towed to the shop. It needs an oil change. I'm like 50 kilometers over the 5,000 recommended kilometers. Yeah, I'm just going to get it towed there. Nothing actually wrong with the vehicle. Just getting it towed for the shits and giggles. And then this happens.
You know what's crazy is that thing is moving because you see how far away his truck
probably
is.
Halfway up the deck. Because it helped
probably all the way up the deck.
Came across the
is
grass.
Is that another car on the deck?
No, I thought that too. I think it's just the shadows and you see the pylon, the light pylon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think he had it up the deck to get that kind of momentum.
Like it hits that curb hard and it goes through that. That fence looks really flimsy though, also at the same time. Like it looks like it. It wasn't a very solid built fence. But yeah, no, it's the turnaround right about here. And then starts running away. That's what gets me every time I watch that video. Is like, oh no, I messed up. Run. So yes, 2 words, you're fired, as it says on the video. I cannot argue with that. That is this week's well, that failed WTF moment.
Thank you to Towing Fails on Facebook for providing all this wonderful content.
Oh, pretty much. It is not hard to go when we are recording and go on Towing Fails, and you find all kinds of good stuff. You know, it's really sad, and I won't take long because I know we're starting to run long on time, but I was looking for stuff to talk about today, and I went on to Google News. I hear a really loud ringing. I went on to Google News, and I searched tow truck. You think I could find a feel-good story anywhere in there?
No.
That is the sad state of our industry, and I hate it at times, and I know it's a misconception because I know there's a lot of good people and good deeds done out there, and I will leave you with this. Google News. Go on Google News. Wow. Look up tow truck. Find a feel-good story. Send it to us because it is very hard to come by, so whenever we do come by them, we want to talk about them, and that, if you guys reach out, is something that we'll get to on one of our next episodes. So, that being said, on behalf of myself and wonderful producer Sarah, since she didn't give us an intro, we're not going to give him an outro. We would like to thank you for listening, and we cannot wait to see you all next week. Take care.
Toodles.
Bye.
Boo!
Oh.
What? Was that booing you because you needed a flatbed, or are you booing me because I didn't give you an outro?
You didn't even say my name, asshole.
I know. I said your name a lot. I got to keep up my appearances, okay?
Yeah, we all know you're the biggest dick around.
Ouch. It's all in the punctuation on how you use that. That could be good or bad.
Oh, I think I said it the right way.
I love that I didn't know what a fucking adjective was. I almost said noun. And then I'm like, the thing to describe things you put in front.
You found it in the end.
I took a long way around to get there.